And welcome back to another unit testing video featuring Gradle. After watching this video, you're going to learn what is unit testing, and we are also going to create unit tests with Gradle in practice. So if you're interested, continue watching. And without further ado, let's get started. So unit testing is basically a type of testing where individual units or components of a software are being tested. So other things you need to know about unit testing are these. That you need to know that the purpose of unit testing is to validate that each unit of the software code performs as expected. So imagine a unit test being just a test for a single component in React. The component of the software can be, let's say, just a React component. That should be familiar if you have worked in React before. Also, unit testing can fall under the white box or the black box technique depending on how you write your unit tests. Also, unit testing is usually done during coding phase and usually by the developers. You can imagine you write your component and then you make a unit test for that single component. The next thing I want to do is to create a Gradle project because I want to make this tutorial more practical. So the next thing we are going to do is create a Gradle project where we will be making or creating unit tests for a very small app, just to demonstrate how can you create unit tests in a Gradle project with JUnit 5. So first of all, I want to search for IntelliJ. That's the ID I'm using right now. Not the best, I wouldn't recommend it for making big apps, etc. I usually just use VS Code for that because according to me it's the best ID, or I should say code editor. And I need to plug my laptop or this recording dies. So I'm back, guys, and the second thing we need to do is create a Gradle project in IntelliJ. So for this one, it's best for you to use IntelliJ so it's easier for you to follow. So to create a project, click create new project, and actually let me check what I need to do, even though I'm pretty sure, or I don't have any notes. That's also an option. And after you have clicked create new project, you need to click Gradle, select Java, and then here is the project SDK. I keep it 1.8 and then click next. Then what you want to do is just name your project like whatever, let's say, because you need to subscribe, let's call the project subscribe. The location would be to the desktop and subscribe to new folder that doesn't exist yet, but it's probably going to be created. So these things are not so important because this is just a sample project, a very basic project just for demonstrational purposes. Then let's click finish, and we're ready to make the next Google now. So we actually need to wait just a second for this project to get set up by itself. As you can see, it's building. We need to have two folders here that I will show you in just a second. So the wrapper is being done. It says that build is successful in 13 seconds and configuration is successful. And now we have this is the folder you need to know about, which is the source folder. Here we have the main and the test folder. The main folder actually contains all of the source code, and this test code contains all of the tests. The next step, ladies and gentlemen, we need to do is to enable running tests. I mean, how can you run tests if you don't enable running tests? So to do that, we need to go inside this build Gradle file, which I needed to do to edit like this, and add in this code. So I will copy this and then go inside this build.gradle folder, zoom in so you can see and not leave some hate comments. JK, nobody watches my videos anyway. So here I'm going to paste this test. Then the next thing is to configure support for JUnit Jupyter based tests. And for that we need to import these dependencies. I want to copy those, and then for importing dependencies you just need to go in this area where you add in the 2 lines of code. Now we are ready to run some tests, and basically if this actually pops up, you just need to click import changes for some reason. I'm not sure, it's probably just like updating the code or whatever. If I find out, I'll make sure to explain it in the comments or in the description down below. So the next thing we will do is the most exciting thing, and it's creating and implementing a test. So are you ready? So the first thing, this is like a really step-by-step tutorial, so make sure you follow along. The first thing we're going to do is just create a calculator class in the main Java file or folder. So I want to explain this main folder that is in the source folder, and click on Java folder and just select new and class for new Java class, and let's call it calculator. And I'm not able to pronounce calculator, but that's okay. I need to zoom in a little bit so you can see, and let's follow the tutorial. Again, the second step is to just implement this class with the divide method. So actually I want to copy this and replace all of the code I had before with this code. Basically this is just a divide function called divide, which returns just a double and takes 2 parameters and just returns the division of A and B. So that's pretty straightforward. Basically this is our app, and we're going to later test this app or write unit tests for this divide method, because that's basically our whole app. I know that you were expecting me to build Google, but that's for a later video. The third thing we need to do is to create a test. So that's right. You need to create a test by right-clicking on the divide function. And I'm just going to put my cursor here, right-click, and then I want to go to generate and then choose test. So what this is going to do when I click OK, it's going to create a class which is just the name of the class we had before. I mean this class plus the name test. Then it will create a test for this divide method, of course if you check this box. So check this box, and after you've done that, click OK. Now this new file opens, which is actually the class I mentioned to you, which is the calculator test class, and this class is actually in this test folder. This class is located in the test folder. If you expand the test folder, then expand the Java, and as you can see, here is our file. So basically, let's see what are we at? We're at the fourth test. So if not added already, we need to add the test annotation. As you can see, there is already an annotation. Basically, this is an annotation, and don't worry for now, I'm going to cover annotation just in a little bit. So basically this is our test, but it's not implemented. There's not any code inside. So usually we run tests by using the assert method. So we have, and that's not only a one method, we have a lot of assert methods, as you can see like this. So autocomplete gives me out assert equals, and assert array equals, assert false, true, etc. So this method, basically you call these methods, and they usually take two parameters. For example, this assert equals takes one parameter, let's say it's true. The second one parameter should be something like, should be actually a function, should probably be some sort of a function of your app. So, but first of all, let's create a calculator here, and we're going to basically create now an object of this calculator class. So to do that, we need to say public and calculator, and let's call it calculator because I'm so creative. Let's say calculator, and this is our object from this calculator app. So now what we want to do is, as I said previously, we need to test this method. For example, we need to test if 9 divided by 3 gives us 3, and we're going to do that in this test with the, guess what, assert method. So we're going to say assert equals, and the first parameters, let me just type this out and I'm going to explain it. So what I have here is basically I'm calling the assert equals function inside when this test triggers. So assert equals basically takes in two parameters, the first one being what we expect, and the second one is the calculation. So this is basically the second parameter. In my case is basically we're calling the divide function on this calculator object with 9 and 3 as parameters. So we're expecting the divide function to give us 3. And basically, if we now run this test, if this function is equal to 3, we're going to get that this test has succeeded, or that this test has not failed. So we can run the test by clicking on this play button and then just click run. Now we wait, and as you can see here, the test results are in, and the divide method or divide test has succeeded. So to just change things up a notch, I'm going to intentionally change this test and type in 2 so you can see how the test fails. Now again I'm going to run the test, and now as you can see the test, after the test has been run, what have we got? The test failed and we expected 2, but the result was 3. And in a real world scenario, now you would see whether the mistake of why the test failed is in the test or it's in your app, in your function, in our example. But in our case, it's in our test. So basically intentionally wrote wrong test just so I can show you how the test fails. So the next thing I'm going to show you, actually I did already show you the assert method, and basically there are other assert methods as I said. You can add also multiple assert method calls inside a single test, and you can add in optional failure message. Let me first. And the next thing we are going to learn are what are annotations. Basically annotations, I have already touched on them a little bit. Annotations are a way of telling the program what kind of test are we writing. This is a definition I came up with, and basically this is one type of annotation. Let's expand this, and you can actually check this on this link for all the types of annotation. Some other annotations are before each. The before each annotation, what it does is basically denotes that the annotated method should be executed before each test. So this is a test, and if I create another test with the before each annotation, and let's call it before each, and just do something dumb like print out this is before each test. So this is, once again, I want to clarify that this is a test again, but it's a different kind of test. Remember, annotations are just a way of telling the program what kind of tests are we writing. Or you can think of it as just a way to tell what kind of a test or when it's going to be run. We have before each and some other. You can check this link to see all of the available annotations. So now if we run this class, I want to click run, and then after this running is done, the first thing we get printed is this is before each test. So basically this test is executed before this test is, and then we get that build is successful, and that means that this test did not fail. So that's all for the before each annotation. And other annotation you might want to use is the disabled annotation. What this disabled annotation does is just disables the test from running. If I type in disabled here, this test is going to be here. I'm not going to, you don't have to delete it, but if you want to keep it, and if you don't want the test being run, you can just disable it. Okay, so that's all you need to know about annotation, or that's at least how much I'm going to teach you. So that's all in for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and if you like this video, make sure to gently tap that like button, because I'm trying to reach 69 likes on this video. So thank you again for watching and peace out.